Well, it's the fall here, Mitchell. It's textured clothing time of year where we wear weathered clothing.
This is corduroy. What would you call this?
Waffle.
Okay, me too. guess it's universal.
I thought that was a trick question. NLL series season kind of gearing up, and PLL off season, but no time to kind of sleep on things with some major news there. And then an insight, if you will, into the NLL, given the player survey that went out recently. So, where do you want to start?
Let's go the NLL. We're 2 weeks out. Okay. I am still a man without a home. So, front offices, you need an announcer. Ottawa Black Bears moved up across the border. I am ready and willing to hit the booth. But right now, I am agnostic. So excited to watch the league from a wholly unbiased perspective, unlike you and your Seals slant.
That's right. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about some of the off-season moves. Training camp kicked off, some major additions. So I'm curious to see how that plays into the results of the survey.
Yeah. Well, we talked. So just real quickly, some moves that the Seals made. Right. Sure. Dane Dobie.
Yep.
Back to Calgary.
Yep.
Curtis Dixon. Back to Calgary.
Yep.
What else we got? We got Courier in.
Yes.
That's a big one. Zach Courier in. What else?
Benesh.
Ryan Benesh, yet another new tattoo and home for Ryan Benesh. Love that for him. Anybody else?
Those are the major ones. So I think, with all due respect to anybody else, we can move forward.
Perfect. So the NLLPA, Players Association, came out with a survey. They hit up the players about some hard-hitting questions about players they like playing with, players they want to see with the ball in their stick, some areas for expansion, and I thought we would take a stab at kind of what our perspective as former NLLPA member. I guess once an NLLPA member.
Always. Oh, yeah.
And still getting those big residual checks every couple months, but...
Months?
I don't know.
Update my address.
So, starting off, this one I thought was a fun one. Hardest hitter in the league. I have been reminded several times. Vintage Lax brand just posted that hit from back in the day.
It was great. Kudos to you. It was a tough couple weeks for me.
Yeah, personnel wise.
Yeah.
That was when I was on the Boston Blazers. You were on the New York Titans,
so
my former team the year prior.
Yeah, against my team, against my teammate, one of my best friends on the team, and then we were working together. So it was like... Very awkward very awkward for me to navigate the post Mitch Belisle big hit YouTube video.
Yeah, sometimes big hits just kind of happen, and sometimes you try to move forward. But NLLPA, they looked at who the hardest hitters were. They asked in today's league, and the answers came in. Graham Hossack, 28%. Mike Messenger, 26%, and then a pretty steep drop off. Brad Cree, Kyle Rubish, James Barclay. So, Ryan, who hit you the hardest in your NLL career?
Well, there's one hit where shout out to Greg Bice. Like you, I think he's still living by that hit, and I think he has said actually on one of our podcasts, our pandemic podcast, that he basically took my soul with one of those hits, or that hit. Which is fairly accurate. I think the takeaway for me from this survey is there's no big surprise. I mean, Graham Hossack, lowers the boom. Just his anticipation. We've seen this in the box. We've also seen this out in the field. His anticipation of plays, and then mass times acceleration equals force. And he gets moving. He's a big body, and he just delivers the boom. And I think the most impressive thing is when he delivers these hits. They're clean.
Oh, shoulder to the chest, like textbook hits. And, they call him the cyborg for a reason. But right behind him, Mike Messenger. And I think the cool thing about Mike Messenger is he can play ball. He can play offense. He can face off. He does a little bit of everything. He is a big body. I think if he and Hossack hit each other same time, same way, I think we're looking at another Big Bang creation, worlds exploding. That is how nuclear fission happens right there.
Shout out to broadcast partner Chris Cotter, who's also a big body, able-bodied force, loves Messenger. Anytime he's calling a game with Mike Messenger on it, he's always like, this guy looks like he, chops woods in the Canadian forests. He just loves Messenger, loves the energy, loves the intimidation, the eye black. So shout out to Chris Cotter. I know Messenger is one of his favorite players to call in the PLL.
Next question we'll talk about. If the league were to expand, what city would be best? This is a fun one.
This is so. Let's give a little bit of a snapshot. Players talk about a lot of different things. In the locker room, at the airport, and the buses, and all that. This question pops up way more than you would think anecdotally.
Yeah,
right?
Because it happens, right?
Yeah.
Expansion happens. We've all been part of it. We've been part of contraction. We've been part of expansion, but it happens.
I've been dispersed. I've been dispersed. I've been cut. I've been traded. So we're always looking where our leagues kind of headed next.
Well, the number one choice here was Nashville, Tennessee.
Were you surprised by that?
Not at all, because that is where we thought we got on a Zoom. Minnesota Swarm, we knew we were moving. We didn't know where. We had a team Zoom. Everyone gets on. We're all, Nashville. It's Nashville, baby. It's Nashville. We get on and they say, Duluth, Georgia. And we're like, what? And it ended up being a great home, and we loved it. And they still are down there, and every year it's gotten better and better, and the fans in Georgia have really embraced it. But Nashville, baby, we were all ready for it. I think there's just so much. You look at the hockey side of things there in Smashville and Broadway, and you've got so much going on. It's such a great town to be in. I think part of the draw is just players want to go there, right? More so than anything. I was surprised to see Edmonton on this list. Former team, the Rush, were in Edmonton.
Right.
I'm wondering if just so many of the Canadians, the guys that are starting to be from it, there's more and more Edmonton-based players in the league. So maybe they just thought that would be a good fit. And maybe I just haven't had as much fun in Edmonton as other people.
That's for a reason. Now, Edmonton people, feel free to come at us. Okay, the question gets posed to you. How would you have answered the question?
I mean, Nashville I was excited about Nashville when I heard about it. I think, when we heard about the Riptide moving, that kind of got the wheels turning, thinking, I think Detroit was one that was thrown out there. I feel like Detroit would be a good city for it just because of, you look at it, it's like in that area, you can pull the Canadians across the border to the games. You've got a city where in the winter, you've got the Red Wings, but maybe not as much going on, so people would be excited to get behind that. But I think somewhere out west, I would love to see an Anaheim come back or California. Do I think it would be successful financially? I don't know, but I would like to see it continue to expand a little bit. How about you?
I'm going New York, baby. I mean, I'm just sliding the Riptide from the island. I'm pulling them into the city, and I'm looking at Brooklyn. I'm looking at Brooklyn and specifically at Barclays. Obviously, the ownership group, very familiar with the NLL. And you look at the success of the New York Liberty, and granted WNBA, but the investment that was made pulling them from Westchester down to the Barclays Center, and the attendance, the investment that was made, the attendance skyrocketed, and they just won the championship. So I think if you look at them as a potential inspiration or model, and obviously selfishly, I don't live there, I live in Manhattan, but Brooklyn to me would I think make a lot of sense.
I think Jersey could have success if you had the right venue. If you had that mid-sized venue, I just don't think there is that venue right now. Though both you and I played down in Trenton, if you recall.
Oh, I do. We played Trenton, and then we also played at the Rock.
Prudential Center.
We played the Rock. We played the Prudential Center.
One of the questions I thought was good was if you're going to build a roster from scratch, who are you taking first? And Jeff Teat led the category in a few of these answers. That was one. 37% of the players said they'd go with Jeff Teat first. Second place, Christian Del Bianco, who was a star in the gold medal game in the recent World Lacrosse Box Championships. He has been a star in the league. He's been a goaltender of the year. What do you think? Do you go offense or do you go goalie?
I can't
believe
building
a team.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this. Given I was a former forward, but I think you go goalie. I think you go goalie. There's just such a premium on that position. It immediately makes you credible. It can keep you in every game. You got kind of a puncher's chance, regardless of what the rest of the roster looks like. I think if that position is sound and like stellar, I think you can build an identity around that. And I don't care the age. He's an ageless wonder. He's my former teammate. I'm going Vino, baby. He's going to play forever. He's going to play forever.
You're going to start a brand new team with
Vino? Yes. I'm starting with Vino. Yes,
right.
100%.
86 years old, suiting up
Yes.
2049.
Is there? Yes, I'm starting with Vino.
Not a bad call.
Yeah.
Not a bad call. And you look back at the teams that have won the championship most recently.
As he's sliding
it's
it all?
been him the last 2 years,
Is he
right?
sliding it all?
Dylan Ward before that. It's just like there's always a great goalie on these championship teams. There's never like a okay goalie. It's like you said, you look at the Ravens when they won the Super Bowl, like you could argue that maybe they didn't have the best quarterbacks the times they won it.
That's fair. Trent Dilfer's not coming
Joe
out.
Flacco, your greatness has been debated here and there.
Joe Flacco went on a heater that year.
He did, and he's back. He's back, baby.
But not on a heater, though.
But it's not in the NLL. You go back and you look at every goaltender. They're stellar. Every time it's a stellar goaltender. So key piece to the puzzle, but Jeff Teat, pretty good addition, too. I think he could make some things happen
So
as well.
Where are you going? Are you going Teeter?
I think I'm going goalie as well.
You are?
Yeah.
And?
Do I have to pick the goalie?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Christian Del Bianco is a great selection, but I might even, who I think is going to have a really good year is Zach Higgins. And Zach Higgins is a guy who's hitting that like mid-30s. He's gotten better and better every year. He is now going to be the Ottawa Black Bears goalie. I'm excited to see what he can do with that franchise.
I'm just surprised you're not taking a 40-year-old.
The last question we're going to talk about is what player do you like to watch the most when you're not playing? Neither of us is playing now. So who's your favorite player to watch?
I'm going Homer pick. I'm going with the San Diego Seals, and I'm going Zach Currier. I'm going double Homer pick. I'm going Seals-Princeton combo. I'm going Zach Currier. I just think what he brings in terms of the blend of athleticism, what he can do offensively, what he can do defensively, what he can do transition, the edge that he brings. I don't think there's another player in the league that's really like him. That's NLL or PLL for that matter. So I just think that all the things that he brings to the table, right? You think of like what a guy brings to the table versus taking something off, right? He just brings so much. Doesn't really take much off at all. So I think I got to go Currier.
Yeah, and I'm going to go kind of in the same vein of like a do-it-all player, and this actually was the number one pick for who's the do-it-all player in the league, and that's Challen Rogers. And Challen, just the most laid-back guy you'll meet off the floor, but then on the floor, just ultimate competitor, chasing guys around on defense, pushing the pace, scores unbelievably huge goals. Years back in that quarterfinal game, he scored the OT winner. Just like an amazing competitor that's so much fun to watch. And I think the fact that he can come out the D door, he can go out the O door, he can do a little bit of everything, that makes him so excited to watch. And also knowing his personality off the floor makes it that much more fun.
And we're saying this like independently of Tom Schreiber, right?
Yeah, Tom's
Tom's
our guy.
Yeah, Captain America. Like we're just
shooting lefty, like on the run, scoring with his helmet, no helmet on, that kind of stuff.
Defying just all the physics of box lacrosse and doing it as an American, so that's already
written.
Yes, agree.
Let's turn from indoor to outdoor. Season doesn't start for a while, but big news.
Big news.
Kavanaugh traded. What is it? 3 Tewaaraton winners now on Denver?
Yeah, so let's start from a Cannons perspective. I think you look at this and you look at like the how and the why. And you got Asher Nolting and Marcus Holman. You draft Pat Kavanaugh, and it just never fit.
I was there at Gillette for the playoffs, and something was off.
Something just like, I think all the right things were being said in terms of like, oh, he played the left side of Notre Dame. Or like, I don't mind coming out of the box. And everybody's like, kumbaya, but coming out of the box. Like, it just didn't.
They need a lefty. They need a true
and then
lefty.
On top of that, he comes in to replace his brother.
Right.
On the left side, So I think you just look at all those, and like, I'll just bring out the ego alpha from me when like I'm 22, right? I just get back-to-back national championships, Tewaaraton Award. And it's like, I'm coming out of the box. Like, I'm playing the left side. Like again, all the right things were said, but I just, like, it never fit. It never passed the sniff test. And this is just kind of a further continuation of that. And who knows what went down, and I haven't done that due diligence yet. I'm sure I will as a part of my preseason preparation. But you just look at that, and it didn't fit. And then, okay, well then, do you trade Kavanaugh or do you trade Nolting, right? And I think that's the dilemma if you're a Cannons, and who knows, maybe Denver wanted one guy or the other, so you don't know exactly what the negotiations looked like. But Nolting from Colorado originally, from the Denver area. So I think now you look at it and then kind of peel back the layer, right? So they get the 3rd overall pick.
I was gonna say, with what they get, are you kind of thinking through?
Everybody's talking about one lefty in the Ivy League from your alma mater.
Heard of him?
Yeah. Not a lot of people are talking about the lefty from my alma mater. Familiarity with Jim Mitchell, the offensive coordinator, who was with the Cannons, and you look at what McAsee is capable of, his familiarity with the system. They need a lefty. I think he'll be there at 3. Who knows? He might leapfrog your boy. He might leapfrog depending on how their seasons play out. But I think if you're sitting at number 3, you're feeling pretty good between Kirst or McAsee kind of being there at 3, with maybe Chris Kavanaugh being sandwiched in there at some point. Obviously, the college season has to play out. The Redwoods, Notre Dame connection, they got the number 2 overall pick. Did they go Kavanaugh? But like, they could go lefty too if they feel like Garnsey is slipping a bit, or they want to go 2 lefties on the attack, or run somebody out of the box. So I think there's a lot left to be kind of discussed as we get close to the draft and more the college season. But if you're just looking at it from a Cannons perspective, I think it's trade Kavanaugh, get the 3rd overall pick, and basically guarantee yourself one of the 2 lefties, one of the 2 top lefties coming out of the college season.
And then how about from the Denver perspective? How do all those puzzle pieces fit together? Do you like what they're building there?
I do. I think you look at that attack, and once they got Elaw, once they got Eric Law, who was the kind of the adult in the room with all the young bucks. And also
the Denver Outlaws, he is like the Denver Outlaw,
right? Denver Outlaw.
Although Lee Zink was the first one, Eric Law is probably the second one on that list of all-timers.
You look at it, and it's like now they have the young, dynamic quarterback. Now it's a matter of what do you do between Eric Law and Zawada. And I think, Elaw is so effective playing without the ball, whether that's behind the cage or the crease.
I used to hate how he would go behind the cage and you'd get lost, and he's so good at that.
So he doesn't need the ball. He doesn't need the ball. And meanwhile, you look at all the touches that Zawada got. In a lot of games, Zawada was getting more touches than O'Neal on the left side. And if you take those touches and now basically just transfer them to Pat Kavanaugh, you got Kavanaugh and O'Neal, and then Elaw just doing Elaw things. It's a pretty formidable unit that is, Elaw aside, very young, obviously, super athletic, and I really like what they're building in Denver offensively. After being so bad, now they've got a lot of playmakers, and they just added more firepower. And are you gonna get somebody better than Kavanaugh at number 3?
It's kind of funny though. It's like the 3 Little Bears analogy is you got the giant in O'Neal, you got like the mid-size in Kavanaugh, and then you got like the tall, skinny in Elaw.
You look at it from Denver's perspective. Pat Kavanaugh all last year was kind of a 3-man, like who's number 1 between him, O'Neal, and Schellenberger, right? So if you're Denver, you're now basically being like, okay, we got the potential number 1 overall pick last year for the number 3 pick next year. I think you do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.